Welcome back to Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate, Prowler only. Last time we took on a Cantor and Yukon-Los, and this time we'll be visiting our favorite Wrath duo again. Now, there's technically two quest chains you can do here. Once you do Silver Rathalos in the Verdant Hills, just the regular one, you will unlock by the light of the Silvery Wrath, which has you hunting a Hyper Silver Rathalos in the Misty Peaks at night. And then if you do Gold Rathian, you will unlock the version or the hyper version of Gold Rathian in the Jurassic Frontier. So if you want to do those immediately, you can, but there's also another quest you unlock after you do both Silver Rathalos and Gold Rathian. And this one is the one we're doing today. It's called The Sun and the Moon and has us hunting a Silver Rathalos and a Gold Rathian in the Ruined Pinnacle. Now, before we jump straight into it, I have done a couple of things while away because, like I said before, I believe with Silver Rathalos, there is a bit of a use for Flash Bomb Bait. Now, I have it on here. You don't have to have it. I've been doing some test runs with it, and the most recent run I did, which wasn't, very great, honestly, it was the first run I really tested with Flash Bomb Bait, took about 22 minutes, a little over that much. While the regular runs I was doing without Flash Bomb Bay and just with Go Fight Win in that second slot, we're taking like 23, 24 minutes, something like that. Sometimes a little over 25 when I was just starting to get used to them. But this is a little bit faster. The monsters themselves are a bit quicker, and I would recommend, especially if you have the room for it, to maybe get this ready for the hyper versions of the monsters themselves. So, by the light of the Silvery Wrath, just has you hunting one or the other, and you maybe can see where these quest chains are going together. But those will be more useful there, where the monsters give you less of an opening. They'll still give you some, but you may find yourself having a very large stash of bar, and this is fine. It does cost 2, which is not the best. But not only does it give you more chances for Mega Boomerang, whether it be from knocking them down or just keeping them in place for a good minute, but it also allows you to just use your regular DPS, which is okay on them, just while they're standing there. I did use Feline Codexes, and I will show the little thing I did to do that. I believe I said before the only way to get them 100% was one of the DLC quests, or the easiest way to get them is Turnabout Takedown. You'll get an 80% chance for one and a 20% chance for 2 in the same reward slot, so 100% chance for at least 1. However, I did go over and look at the rewards again, and a lot of these part breaker quests have the exact same odds, so you can at the very least guaranteed get one of them. Now, I did roll Ludroth Mainbreaker. This is the fastest one you're going to unlock if you don't want to do a bunch of gathering quests in High Rank Village. And the problem with the ones in High Rank Village is that they're only 50%. You don't always get them. So what I did here was you do a Nahabra in the stomach. This will unlock both Lucky Stepcat and your Desert Frontier. And as long as you do one of them, this will start your G2 quest for Prowlers. It will unlock Primal Frontier. You will do that one, and then it will unlock Thank You Gift and roll Ludroth Mainbreaker. And once you do that, you have access to your somewhat easy Feline Codexes. It took a little bit over 5 minutes for me to do this with the Agnector weapon. So while I do think the Geodrome quests are a little bit faster, this one doesn't require DLC. So you don't have to have the servers up or anything to be able to download that quest for whatever points that matters. After that, I hunted a Malfestio because I hadn't unlocked Flash Bomb Bay yet, and now we have it. It's on our cat. Again, if you're going to use it and you're not using support move +1, I don't have room for that on the skills. I could replace Monster Darf with support move +1, but I'd rather not, just because that makes it so I would have to teach Monster Dar again if I want to capture easily. But it is possible, if you do have the right setup for your cat, to just kind of maybe slot that in wherever just by changing a support skill. But if you have that, then you can go ahead and have Go Fight Win as well as Flash Bomb Bait. Go Fight Win's important here because these are 2 in-game monsters, and if they're on the same map, there's a good chance they're going to be in the same area together. So it's nice to be able to have a bunch of free heals, especially back up to full for only 2 bars of gauge, whenever they're just kind of throwing a bunch of chaos into the ring and you want to get back up to full HP. They're not dealing that much damage since they aren't hyper, but with all the preamble out of the way, go ahead and take the quest. I have the Amatu weapon. I'll talk a bit about that once we get into the quest, and we'll go ahead and head out. Alright, so while we're making our way to Silver Rathalos, you may be wondering why I didn't bring Dung Bombay. Number one, I don't even think my cat has it here, obviously. I've said that before. But number two, I didn't want to teach it because I find this quest to be more consistent, specifically for bomb cats, because you have an adept dodge. Also, we have air plugs, don't forget about that. When you are playing around the monster's movement. So the most consistent way, we start out with Silver Rathalos and I'll fight him. And Rathian will kind of make a counterclockwise movement over into this area. By the time she gets over here, Rathalos will be ready to leave, and then we can start fighting Rathian until until he moves in with us. Now, the problem is with Dung Bombay, and since they're both Rathalos and Rathian together on the same map, there's some weird, how do you say, mechanics involved with them. Sometimes they'll rush to their side, other times they won't. I find that if you force them out of the area, they will return a lot faster than just letting them leave naturally. Now, this will not say that they will not rush to each other's side randomly. It's not always guaranteed, and you will have to deal with them at some points together. It's much more feasible here, and it is more difficult in a certain other quest, but for now, it's certainly stomachable at the very least. Again, you won't be getting that many uses for your Mega Boomerangs, just because while the regular monster itself doesn't give that many openings, there are a few. Whenever it enrages, you can easily get one off. There are some attacks that he can overcommit towards as well, where if you notice it, you can get another one off as well, even if they're not hitting the best hit zones. The reason we're using the Amatsu weapon specifically is because it is a very high raw weapon. Even though it has, you know, some negative affinity, we can offset that pretty nicely. And it's using water element. Now, Rathalos is weaker to water element, while Rathian is weaker to thunder element. However, on the head, it's only a 20 hit zone, I believe, for most monsters. But Silver Rathalos is weaker to water element on the head specifically than Gold Rathian is on her head to thunder element. So what that means, and another thing, is that Silver Rathalos is more of a glass cannon. They have similar health here. It's a little over 9,000 for both of them. But since we're starting with Silver anyways, I'd rather get Silver out of the way as quick as possible. If you're going to go for the head break, go for the head break. Don't do half and half. Obviously, if, you know, the tail's facing you or something like that, you know, you don't want to just hit the tail. You want to go for the back. The back is 55 hit zone. The wings, I believe, are 44, so not proccing weakness exploit, but they're close enough, especially if you're not using weakness exploit. It doesn't really matter that much. And they take decent water element. The face, like I said before, takes a very good amount of water element whenever it's not broken. However, when you break it, it goes up to, I think, at least 50. I don't remember the specific number, but the water element hit zone, I believe, goes down to 15. So you're dealing less water element, but you're still going to be melting him pretty quickly. And by the time you do finally break it, because it is such a hard spot, he may be at like 50%. I want to say I've gotten him down to like 55%, something like that. I've done some testing with it, and it's finally broken. So it takes a while, and that's why you want to do it as quick as possible if you're going to go for the face. If you're not going in, if you don't want to break the face, don't even bother with it. You'll probably clip it occasionally, but just go for the back and the wings. Those will be fine. Those will take, I believe, a little bit longer because, again, having a over 50 element hit zone, or not element hit zone, you can tell I'm rambling here, but over raw hit zone on the face there is still pretty nice. Especially if you're struggling with it, the longer the hunt's going to take you, the more valuable breaking the face will be. But if we're tying it up against the wire as quick as we can with, you know, casual playset in mind, then it's not going to be as useful as whenever you would want an easy head hit zone. Obviously, this is going to be different with hunters because they don't really have to worry about that as much, and they'll probably just be going for the head anyways. If you're using aerial, you'll probably want to go for the back, and nothing really changes once you break the back either. There's a wing break. They happen pretty quickly, and again, since they have about 9,000 each, this is not like, it kind of is, but not really like a multi-monster quest. They're more like two individual regular monsters from like G3 or something like that, even though you fight them in G4 regularly as well. So Rathian's finally heading over here, and at this point, Los should be moving somewhat soon, but we still have to deal with her for a little bit. And this is also another reason I would not give my dung bombs to the Palico, because there are some pin attacks here. And if it throws it at the Wrath, whichever one has pinned you, it throws off your rhythm. So for right now, we're fighting them together. It's going to be pretty simple. We've already gotten another wing break. Again, the water element is really doing a very good amount of damage. That's why we chose it, especially with the high raw of the Amatsu weapon. That way we can kind of get rid of Rathalos a lot faster than Rathian. And this will be more important in a different quest as well, because Los will have less health than Rathian will. So he'll die even faster than the Rathian would at that point. Now we're fighting Rathian. Face is a little bit more optional here. So again, she's going to be weaker to Thunder Element on her face, but not as weak to Thunder Element on her face as Rathalos is to Water Element on his face. So you still can go for it. Again, it'll melt pretty quickly once you get the face broken. And since you are dealing a good chunk of elemental damage, the lower raw hit zone isn't that bad. But if you want to just go for the back, you're not really going to be losing too much. And you're seeing right now, we're not really getting that many uses out of our Flash Bombay because I haven't had to. Again, we're saving that for when we have a stockpile of gauge and we want to burn that off. Been hit by a tail flip. You can see they're also not doing that much damage, though we have both of our buffs up. Again, don't get too used to these monsters' movesets right now. They have some tools that can catch you off guard, but if you get too used to them, you're going to be in a very poor position to actually fight the hyper ones. They're going to take you off guard, so just take it slow. You know, keep an eye on what they're doing. That way, you know where the hitboxes are going to be, so when they start pulling out those faster and stronger attacks, you are prepared for them. I'm going to go ahead and Soothing Roll this poison off. I probably didn't have to. I assume Yu's maybe going to heal. Well, I guess he doesn't have to now, but he can't even because he's been knocked out. Your cats are going to kind of just slide around and die a lot. As per usual, nothing really is out of the ordinary there. Again, they will be alive a little bit more since they're not hyper variants, but they're still going to be dead a lot, especially when they're both in the area together. However, that very occasional go fight win is still going to help us out a lot whenever we do have a stockpile of gauge for Flash Bombay. A little health horn here. We'll keep going for this back. I'm kind of doing the thing I said not to and just going half and half on attacking the face. I guess I can focus on the face right now. Remember the quadrant fireballs. Rathians will be a little bit smaller than Los's, but she can do them in sets of 3. This would be where I would attack the back if I'm behind her. But if she's in front of me and doing a fireball, we're going to charge and go for the face and try to get some damage off there. Again, it's going to take a bit, but as you can see, we are not being bothered at all by Rathalos or Rathian together. And that's really the important thing about these quests is strategizing, trying to keep the monsters away. If you're playing as a hunter, you may try this, or you may just go for dung bombs. Your damage is going to be higher than cats, obviously, and you also have items for them. You don't have to give up too much to actually carry dung bombs, unless your item pouch is already completely filled up, but I think you can suffice to use dung bombs for that. But at this point, as long as it's consistent, and again, occasionally Rathalos will rush to Rathian's side. It's not always foolproof. I want to say using a flash bomb might trigger them to come more often. And maybe if it's a successful one that you knock them out of the air with, it's weird. It's not always foolproof, but this is the way I found to get the most time of them separated to be able to actually attack them freely. Just gonna tackle here. Didn't do the triple, but the triple is going to be the biggest one you have to watch out for. So right here would be where I would use Go Fight Win and actually heal back up to full, but I don't have that option. So we're just gonna try to maybe let our cats get back in. Just doing a standard tail flip, just from neutral. Throw one out. Here comes her little swoop. She delayed it. You always want to dodge in time to the instant one instead. And this run's actually going pretty well, probably because I didn't use any flash bombs, but now we kind of have our pick of where we want to fight them. So right now they're about 2 areas away from each other if Los continues his little path, so I'm going to just go ahead and fight him. Again, we're trying to get rid of him first. He's not in range, so he won't do the backwards fireball. So we're just going to wait. We're not going to get a Mega Boomerang out. Though, maybe if I started early, normally they will always roar, so you can actually leverage that with a Mega Boomerang really quickly. But I didn't have enough gauge, so if my Boomerangs did run out, one of them did, I wanted to be able to reapply them. Got a good flinch there. Onto the left, try to get out of his face. Flamebot, as always, is very misleading. It has a much larger reach than it looks like, so if you're off to the right at all and close enough to him in a decent range, you'll just want to dodge with that. Make sure you're not hit. Now, unfortunately, he enraged in the air, so we will not be able to get a Mega Boomerang off, but that's fine. Again, long, consistent damage is the main goal here. We're not worrying too much about trying to get Mega Boomerangs off because they're still taking somewhat decent element damage. Even Rathian is, even though she's not taking as much as Los. You know, for the back here, I guess I could go for the face, but we won't worry about it right now. So right here, I could actually use a Flash Bomb. They don't have to be in the air, and it's very unwieldy. It takes forever. Yes, it does deal damage, but the problem is that if you are hit whenever the bomb explodes, you will be knocked back, and that will waste some time. However, now we have a very large period of time. In my testing, a great Mega Boomerang's doing about 5% of its health, which is really good. I don't think it'll be doing it here quite. Maybe if we hover it in the back, because that's a really good hit zone. But as of right now, the head's not broken, so it's probably doing like 3 to 4%, which is still really good, obviously. This little tackle, they're back together again, so we're going to take this slow. And the downside of using Flash Bomb Bay there is now we don't have as much gauge for our soothing rolls, so we won't be able to do it if we get comboed. Ideally, we're keeping them both in view. We're waiting to see what they're doing. Again, don't be afraid to take it slow. And again, if you want to use Go Fight Win, it's great. It's just going to be a more consistent hunt overall because you can just, you know, soothing roll pretty much as much as you want back to full, as long as you have 2 bars of gauge. So if you want a safer, more consistent hunt, that will take a little bit longer, and not even that much longer. Like, this is really just trying to max DPS. Not really. Again, we're still keeping a casual mindset with it. We're not, you know, going collect cat with you don't even use World's Strongest anymore, but you know, no armor, feline heroics, and all that fun stuff. We're just doing it with regular armor, evade cat, all the fun stuff. Now, this is where Silver will be exhausted. We're still going to keep attacking him. Usually if they're in the area together, we're just going to focus down him. Something to keep in mind is that your boomerangs will hit twice on the monsters, so you can kind of double your damage. You just cannot be picky with hit zones. You saw the fire breath kind of hit there, which is still odd, which is very far away. But if you are piercing them, you will still hit them both. That's going to hit me. That was a little weird. I should have just waited for her to attack. This is also awkward because I'm under a step. All right, I'm going to slow down. Only have 1 gauge, so I'm going to go ahead and use it. Get rid of the burn. Back away. He's going to enrage now. Not a very long exhaust. They will sometimes have longer exhaustions. I'm not sure if it's because Rathian's in the area, so he gets madder a lot faster. I'm not sure. Lose this acorn. Again, I'm being a little greedy here. Usually you'll just wait for them to not attack. A lot of times I can get through this without losing an acorn, especially if I have Go Fight Win. But sometimes if I'm just really trying to pump damage out, I will lose acorns, because if you're comboed a lot and your cats are dead, you're going to be not healing up as much. So we'll try to play this a little bit slower and maybe get a wing break on Rathian. Not that useful. It's better when she's in the air, obviously. And also not that great whenever she's with Rathalos. You would think that flinching the monster would be better. And at this point, I think I'm just going to attack the bats. We got another wing break. Again, not that great when they're in the area together. But flinches aren't that useful because we're already trying to avoid them pretty much. So staying away from them is very important. Again, when Rathian tracks onto you, they both have that weird tracking animation where when they're in the air. Drake King does it too, so that's probably where you'll get a feel for it from the most, because you have to do the quest 15 times. 16 if you include EXs. It'll only be a tail flip from Rathian, sorry. If Los does it, he can do a couple of things, but it's not going to be immediate like Rathian's is. So if Rathian does it, you're going to dodge immediately and just position. If Los does it, I think she's going to triple tackle here. Only double, actually. Go back up. We'll start fighting Rathian now. But if Los does it, you don't have to immediately dodge. You'll wait and see what he does. I think he can either do a Talon Dive or a Fireball from it, which is one of the charged ones, and both of those are fairly delayed. So you don't have to worry about it too much. Wait for her to finish this. That little tackle, okay, she's leaving. That's not great. But that little tackle with the tail flip at the end can, I believe, be influenced to the left or right on her end. So you're not always 100% safe. As always with Adept, and they're moving to the same area. That's not great. But as always with Adept, you'll just dodge it and assume it's going to hit you anyways. All right, we're going to go back to attacking Rathalos. And again, it's not going amazingly. The best run I have had is where I've stayed in the starting area for at least 3 cycles. And then Rathian moved up to the top area where the nest is. And then I went back down and fought Rathalos. He started limping, so I killed him after he limped to his nest, and then I killed Rathian whenever she chased to the nest, because that's how their AI works. Here it's not obviously that great, but Rathian just left. I don't know if she chased him because he was wounded or something like that. I'm not sure. There are weird things they do, and I don't know the specifics of it that make that happen. But again, we're 15 minutes in, so I'm not even going to worry about attacking the face anymore. I'm just going to go for the back and the wings. You're still going to get plenty of flinches. And I guess if you want a head break for the rewards, that's another thing to do it for. But we don't really have to worry about parts because we don't get silver Rathalos equipment or gold Rathian equipment either. It's a fireball. Normally that does wind press when it lands, and also it's a little bit faster sometimes. I don't know, it just depends, but normally you'll just dodge that regularly. Got angry mode right here, so we'll use that to iframe that attack. Throw this out, and as you can see at this point, they're just running and rushing to each other's side as quick as possible. So you will want to get used to them together. And that's why I, again, recommend not using dung bombs for it, because if you can get used to fighting them together, then you will be golden, at the very least, a little bit more for future endeavors where they are together. And I may be making this look a little bit easier. Yes, I've lost an acorn, but I have put many hours fighting these two together. Rathian is now exhausted, so we'll try to use that to our advantage of just fighting Los. He did a little tackle, fell over, got wind pressed. Hopefully he doesn't hit me. I managed to be there, but it didn't quite work. Now Rathalos is leaving. Again, they're leaving very quickly. He didn't limp, which is good for us. We know that we don't have to chase him before he starts healing health back. And that's just fine. She's going to tackle. I'm going to lunge here to actually close some distance. Start attacking the back. The tail tips on both monsters are also softer than the base of the tail. So you'll go for that if you want to go for a tail cut. It's not that hard. I've gotten it before on runs where I have broken the face too. So it's not that chunky health-wise at the very least. And it is possible, and she's running away. I assume she's running to Rathalos. She actually is not. So I'm going to chase Rathalos. He is in the den area, but he's not sleeping. He'd be on the lower portion of that area. It's the top area, not the bottom one. And he's now in the lower portion, but that's not where he sleeps. It's more towards the center. Again, ideally, we're getting a 25-minute hunt. That's what I generally will expect here. A little bit over. For commentating a run, because I can't really focus as much on hitting the actual good DPS hit zones. We gotta go fight Win again, which is good. I think I'm gonna launch this. It's gonna be greedy. He can move. Got hit by that though. We should be good to actually maybe throw this out. The scary thing is if he decides to do a flame bite, but I think we're fine to back up. He's just doing a tail flip, or sweep. Not a flip. You're not Rathian. Flame that upwards, go for the back. He's going to enrage here, so he will still do his scripted attacks. And remember, when a monster is not flashed or loses its flashed status and it's on the ground, you saw he lost it in the air there, so it didn't actually happen. But when he's on the ground, he will do a little shake off animation. And pretty much every monster does that. So you can use that for an extra mega boomerang if you have the gauge for it. That's more useful whenever the monster's flash tolerance is really high and they're only flashed for a very short period of time, like 3 seconds, something like that. They always have to go for that one animation. Even if they are in the middle of an attack, as long as it's on the ground, they'll finish the attack and then do the shaking off. That was not great. I would have rather had piercing boomerangs, but oh well, we'll have to deal with this. Jump to the right here. This area is not fun. There are many ledges around the place, so it does limit your movement. You'll have to position a lot better around it as well. Since you're ranged, you have an easier time. There's the face breaking, finally. Again, ideally, we would have went for that solely at the beginning and had this through the entire time. I'm going to say maybe he's at 30%, something like that. I don't really know, though. We've been going for 20 minutes, and he's been dead at, like, past the 15-minute little section on the clock there before, so obviously this is going a lot slower, but he should be dead sometime soon. I think 30 is probably an overestimation, but I'd like to overestimate it rather than underestimate it and say, oh, he's at 5% HP. He's fixing to go down any second now. I don't think he is. For Athene to move. Dodge this. Actually, so she did the tracking attack there and she landed. Either way, it's about the same. He's limping out, which is good. I think that's under 15%, or maybe under 10%, so he might die really quickly here. But Rathian actually landed there, but the hitboxes are generally the same. As long as you just dodge in one direction, you'll either position out of the way of it, whether it be a tail flip or a land, or you'll just dodge it. Another flinch, which is good. And when you get a lot of parts broken off, they also just flinch all the time, which is really great for you. Hopefully we can get rid of him here. He's going to move. I'm going to try to gain some distance. Air tackle. I don't like this. I'm going to soothing roll out of it. Camera gets a little odd also around those wonderful ledges, so it's also a bit harder to deal with. Now he's leaving. We're chasing him. Well, you don't have to chase him, right? He can't sleep in any other area, so he's not going to gain HP back until he comes back here. So I guess we're pretty fine to just keep fighting Rathian, trying to get some damage off here. As long as he's not bothering us, we're going to be very good. To the right. Go for the back here. Pierce through. She's going to roar. This would be where you would use another Mega Boomerang. And as you can see, I'm not being as aggressive as I could be. Right? Like I could have used one there, but I'm trying to play conservatively and make sure I'm just staying alive for it. This would be what a slower run is like. I guess I could probably use a Flash Bomb Bay here, right? Now, you can also miss them. Ideally, you're pointing away from where you're at because they can just turn and look at you. That one didn't work, though, unfortunately. And we're going to lose our second acorn. I tried to dodge away from it, but I was just blocking in a weird direction. A little unfortunate. That's okay. I shouldn't have wasted the Flash Bomb. I wouldn't have been in such a weird position to actually dodge the normal attacks. Triple Fireball into, or double Fireball until tail flip. Go ahead and throw that out, and we're back to pestering Rathalos. He was like on 1 HP or something. Alright, so now that he's down, the damage rolls, specifically from what I remember from Rathalos, was a little bit around 90 HP with a full charged double boomerang toss, which is pretty good. Again, a monster with 9,000 health, about 9,900, something like that. That's 100 throws to kill it if you're doing both of them together, which is okay. Obviously, that's very dependent on what actual hit zones you're hitting, whether or not you have Pelican Rally up, whether or not you have Demon Horn up as well, and whether or not you're in Angry mode for that 15% extra affinity. She's going to flip. I'm going to try this because she overcommitted there for no real reason. She can't really continue air combos as easily as Rathalos. So that's another nice thing. You can actually punish pretty nicely and you don't have to wait her out. But she will take a little bit longer because I haven't really gotten much damage off on her because she was moving so much. And again, when the monsters move less, you're going to take less time as well. They really weren't that friendly here because they kept rushing to each other's side. So it's kind of like, well, I guess I have to move 2 areas before I actually get to fight you again. Overcommitted there. If she's looking at you, as per usual, rule of thumb, if the monster's looking at you, get out of the way because it can just instant tackle. That's how you avoid a lot of those instant tackles from Garuga and whatnot. Comes the flip. Going to the back. Another thing to note is that the neck is a 15 hit zone and still takes decent element, but when the face is broken, the neck does not break either, so it's going to stay the same throughout, so you still may be piercing through that, which will eat into your damage a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and throw this out. If your cats get pinned, it's also pretty nice. Remember, you can actually throw a flash bomb and get a shiny drop. Half the time that doesn't matter. In fact, 99.9% of the time it doesn't matter for cats. And dare I say 100%, but there's a random subquest you want to do for a special item or whatever. That is how you get them. You can also just flinch the monster as well, but flash bombs, I believe flash bombs. Actually, I'm thinking they may not be 100% certainty to actually knock the monster over. And I may only be thinking of when it's eating. I'm thinking of 3 ultimate. Let me specify this to say maybe I'm wrong here. 3 ultimate, fighting Rathalos. If you wanted a shiny drop, you would flash it while it's eating an Aptonoth when it gets exhausted. That's what I'm thinking of. However, I could be wrong. It may not drop a shiny, and it may not drop it 100% of the time. So I'm just gonna completely forget I said that because I don't really have any reason to back it up because I don't remember. There is a shiny though, surprisingly. Speaking of which we could grab, but I'm not even gonna bother. Go ahead and reapply this. A little over 25 minutes so far. We're just going to keep attacking these here. Again, 44 hit zone, so right under our weak spot. And it really doesn't matter that much if we're not using weakness exploit. It's okay. Obviously, we want to be hitting the back, but if we're not, the wings are such a large hitbox. It's fine to be hitting them. Also, you can get mounts if you want to get some Mega Boomerangs off as well, but they are a bit dangerous up close, so I can't recommend it because you do have to spend a lot of time actually committing to the mount attack, and it still takes a while to build up. If you're having to wait any length of time to actually get mount attacks thrown off as well, the status will decrease. I believe so. It may not. I want to say some statuses do, some statuses don't. They're weird like that. Try to get this off. Even if I get tackled, it's okay. Again, we're not really in any danger of just being one-shot, especially since we have Go Fight Win, so I'm not particularly worried. I'm just playing aggressively. So here, we're going to throw this backwards. She should look at us as long as she doesn't move too far forward. That's old gen flash bombs for you. They just kind of don't work sometimes. This one should work. Sometimes the monster's too far away, or they're angled just perfectly for it not to actually matter. And it will just completely miss. It stinks whenever you have to use the full price one. When that happens, it's not as bad, obviously, whenever you are in Go Fight Win. When you're not, though, it's just kind of really bad. So you want to make sure you're giving those as many chances as possible to actually land. That's why you aim them backwards so they gain a little distance from where you launch them, and try to make sure the monster's as far away as possible, because they're not going to target the flash bomb. They're going to target you. Go for this. Piercing through the tail, which isn't great, but she is actually leaving. We won't let her leave, though. So if you really want to, you can carve Rathalos, but we don't have to. But there we go. She's down. I'll go ahead and carve her out and meet you back at base. All right, back to base. And since we don't have any equipment to talk about, I can talk about something else. When I was doing the Prowler quests, and generally when you do Prowler quests, you will get Lagny apples. They will be different sizes, but this is for your farm. It's not called a farm. Usually it's not called a farm, but it's your farm. What you'll do is you'll go to the trader, you'll go to order items, request a trade, and you have 3 carts. They unlock at some point. I do not remember. I assume it's either in village, unlocking those, or doing those urgents, or doing them in hub urgents. But we have 3 of them. We'll go to 1. We will choose a Palico with the right enthusiasm. You can increase this either by eating meals or letting them catnap. I believe it'll show this one has 5, which I believe is the max. You go to an item. These are also different. They will unlock at different points. I assume they also unlock more items at different points as well. So if you want might seeds, adamant seeds, ammo, berries, or just the random stuff, I assume the most important is honey, and you get that with the Moga Bee Yard. Everything else, I guess you could get ambrosias and stuff for your insects as well. Just a lot of random stuff, and it is still pretty nice. This seems a little lacking, so you may be able to actually get more with Tanzia, but I assume you would probably have to do village quests. However, we'll go ahead and pick honey here. We'll do 10 rounds, which is fairly cheap, honestly, for how many points we currently have. And you can either have nothing, a Lagny apple, a big Lagny apple, or a huge Lagny apple. As you can see, the odds at the top go up higher. I'm not sure what the difference is between big and huge. Huge I don't know if they last longer. I think these just last for the entire go. So it may be something more like Mandragora. I don't think we get Mandragoras here. Those would be for, I believe, max potions or ancient potions. But something rare like a dragon toadstool. So the big Lagny apple is only 3, where the huge one is better. So I guess you would use big Lagny apples for your honeys. And then for your better stuff, you would use your huge ones. But you go ahead and pick that. Go back to honey here. And then we'll just use a big one. And then hit trade. Every time you progress a quest that is not a harvest tour, you will get some honey in the cart. And then you can do this for each of your other ones for different items. You can cancel it. You'll be refunded. Maybe for, I think we only get refunded it for this after, and you may not even get your Lagny apple back. But if you do it afterwards, either you only get refunded for the amount of time remaining, or you don't get refunded at all. So be careful. Make sure you pick what you want. As you can see in the top right next to our points, it shows which Lagny apples we have. The left one is the huge one, middle one is the big one, and then the one on the right is just the regular. Also, occasionally, and I actually took advantage of this, the trader who trades you just regular trade goods will sometimes have a sale. This would be where you would get your Kelby horns for cheap. I got like 200 of them. So if I ever absolutely need to pass quests for whatever reason, I'm pretty much set up. Either way, there we go. We've got another big quest down with the in-game threats, and it's only going to get harder from here for those 2 monsters specifically. Either way, hope you enjoyed. If you did, please consider leaving a comment below, and maybe even consider subscribing. Until next time.